Let's all be honest for a moment, the new Spinosaurus design is interesting and a breath of fresh air. After all, these scientifically accurate models look fantastic. But you, me, your dog, and your crippling anxiety wanted to see Acid 87. He wasn't going to come, but I had a very small slither of hope that he could have been somewhat mentioned at least in Rebirth. It was false hope because he's probably already dead from old age and is still on Site B. But what would happen if he was on Site C with the other crash outs? The Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus is himself a crash out, like I don't know why he wasn't dropped on that island too. No other thing, and I mean no other thing in this franchise has went through such great lengths to kill a specific group of people. Not Rexy, not the Indoraptor, not the Caucasian hybrid, and Zeb was just a chill guy. But there's a twist with Site C. Your T-Rex here isn't your average sized Rex. This one's bigger, faster, and is stronger than Rexy at the end of Dominion, and it's not even the biggest threat. There's a mini sauropod sized mutant roaming the area with probably the same amount of hate for humanity as Acid 87. So the question is, can the first T-Rex killer of the franchise survive on the new deadliest island in the franchise? Well, we're about to see. But before that, fix your posture, sit up straight. This is why you feel pain when you get up from the chair, damn it. And consider hitting that subscribe button for more future videos. If you find the content lackluster at the end of the video, you could also unsubscribe. And if you like anything related to prehistory, then you're gonna like it in the Discord. Share art, memes, and just yap about anything with big teeth. It doesn't matter. Oh, and by the way, if it wasn't obvious, there's major spoilers, so yeah. I think that's enough time spent on introductions. Let's get into the video. So before Site C, Indoraptor was without a doubt the most deadly island in the Jurassic universe. Nublar may have had a Rex and a few Raptors, but Sorna had a menagerie of different predators that can kill you, and some can even set traps for humans. On Indoraptor, the Spinosaurus was the undisputed ruler, the largest and most powerful theropod on that island. The only thing that could pose a threat to him was Buck and Doe, since even he can't win that 2v1. In 2001 he was just over 8 tons, but just to make things even remotely fair, we're going to use his Camp Cretaceous size, which is more than 50 feet and a little over 10 tons. Trust me, he's going to need every advantage he can when faced against the fauna of Site C. Acid 87 was one of the few dinosaurs that could actually cause an extinction event on Indoraptor over time, if he wanted, which was stated by some of the people working on the model, so it means he could technically bring down anything on that island, including the Brachiosaurus, which are about 55 tons. Not only is he strong enough to do that, but he's strong enough to survive the story overall. Every other Jurassic franchise villain before Rebirth has been killed off in the most brutal way, but not this guy. And it's not as though he stayed out of trouble. He took part in more fights than all of them combined. The only way he could have died was if he faced Rexy, because her plot armor would summon an asteroid to strike him down the moment he got the advantage, and seeing what he has survived, there's a chance he could have even survived that. He has been hit directly with a plane on his hip, took prolonged bites on his thin neck by multiple Rexes, shot by heavy artillery, and got hit directly in the face with the Kentro's tail. There is more stuff he survives, but that's just a small list. Which brings me on to the interesting anatomy of Acid 87. He was an illegal project by Wu and was tested on constantly. During those tests you gotta wonder what they put him through, because the weakest parts of his body seem to withstand heavy damage way too well, including his sail. When he toppled over, his 10-ton body fell directly on the sail and there was no dent. And his skin is either super hard or it's just very thick, because it's not as though the Rexes he fought barely bit him. Bull got the perfect grip on his neck and slammed him onto the floor, yet all we see are a few bruises and some small patches of blood. As for his fight with Big E.T., he didn't even bleed that time. The same aspect applies with the Kentrosaurus. This thing hit 87 so hard he flipped over, yet there wasn't a drop of blood from any of the spikes. The only dinosaurs that match him in this sort of durability is Toro and probably Rexy. He can take a beating for sure, but he could also dish it out. We all know the iconic scene where he simply holds Buck in place as though he's the father and snaps his neck. But he still, to this day, is the only one that was able to at least fracture something in another T-Rex's neck, just by biting it. When he first fought Big E.T., we can hear the snap when he bites down hard and she collapses to the floor, basically half dead. He didn't use his hand this time, this was just raw bite force, which is a pretty good feat for him since he's technically supposed to have the weakest bite force out of any of the megatheropods in the franchise. And yet, no other one has been able to kill a Rex in this manner, or at least damage it. I do think this was just for effect though, because I found it weird that even he could have done that. Remember how Buck was able to absolutely destroy that boss by just casually swinging his head? Well, Acid 87 took a full-on headbutt from another male Rex that was actually trying and headbutted him with a running start. It did stun him for a few moments, but the fact that he wasn't crippled is remarkable, because there is one thing I can give the Rexes of this franchise, and that's the power they pack behind their heads. When it comes to arm strength, I don't think anything before Rebirth came close besides the Indominus. Aside from him holding a struggling Rex in place and snapping its neck, he was able to hold back an industrial sliding gate with just one hand. That's more than 6 tons pushing back. I mean, he did eventually have to remove his hand, but that just goes to show just how much of a menace this guy is. If he hit a human, they would be sent into the Shadow Realm. He may have some competition in categories like strength, but there is no other dinosaur before Rebirth that has more battle intelligence or endurance as the Spinosaurus. This guy got shot by and then chased the mercenaries, got hit by a plane, tracked down and tore said plane apart, ran after the humans, and moments later did a fight to the death with an adult T-Rex. And throughout the entire film, he travelled far and wide across Indoraptor to try and end Grant and his crew. As for battle intelligence, he was released into the wild as a juvenile, with raptors, carnos, rexes, etc., and managed to survive adulthood. And even after that, he was transported to another island to fight a variety of dinosaurs he probably would have never interacted with. The only other megatheropod that could match him in this category might be Zeb, if he is the Giga from the prologue, which I'm not too sure about. So yeah, that pretty much does it for the Jurassic Park 3 Spino. Let's now take a look at some of the fauna he's gonna have to compete with on the new deadliest island. Site C was set to hold the most dangerous animals, or ones that were deemed too unstable to be released on the other two. But I don't think it was the actual first island. More than likely it was created before the events of Jurassic World but after Jurassic Park. But for the sake of this video, let's say Site C was the very first. We got animals from all weight classes patrolling the land and the water, including the Spinosaurus. These guys are meant to be more scientifically accurate and are far cry from their former glory, but at least they have their own thing going on. For one, they have a mutual relationship with the most powerful predator in existence, being the whale-sized Mosasaurus, and they can hunt in coordinated groups, with some members hitting the boat to cause the people to fall over into the jaws of another member. And while Asset 87 may have been a good swimmer, these guys are great swimmers. So great in fact that I'm not sure if they can actually walk bipedally. If you've seen the movie, I'm sure you've noticed their build, but if they could somehow walk upright, I'd imagine it would be a bit awkward. They have actual webbed feet now, like a penguin, which is kinda adorable until you realize these bastards don't do the classic roar before they attack like the rest of the Jurassic franchise theropods. One was on the beach, and when it saw someone not paying attention, it lumbered into the water to make it seem as though it was just going out to sea. Then when everyone was distracted, it launched out of the water and took her, so they display a good amount of intelligence on their own. The only thing I could possibly hit them on is the size. These are more than likely in the 7-ton range or barely above 8. One dinosaur that far exceeds this size though is the Allen's T-Rex. People have been calling this Rex Tiger, so that's what I'ma go with. It isn't even confirmed if it's a male or female, but due to popular demand, I too will be calling it a he. For the limited amount of screen time we got of him, we got to see a decent amount of his abilities. For one, he is deadly quick over short distances. This dude like just woke up, and the moment he saw the girl on the raft, he locked in and disappeared within a second. Do you know the kind of leg power required for an animal this bulky to move like that? Either he jumped out of frame or he just did a tuck and roll. Speaking of bulk, he might be the biggest theropod ever in the franchise. This guy is massive. He himself is at least 50 feet and probably 11 tons or more. He might be slightly shorter than Asset 87, but length doesn't always equal greater mass. This is why in real life the Giganotosaurus and the Spinosaurus are lighter than a T-Rex despite being longer. And also, if you compare the sizes of Tiger next to the humans versus Rexy next to a person, you can't see the size difference. Although I will say that in some shots his size does fluctuate. At the start of the chase he was basically a kaiju of a dinosaur, but later into the chase he gets a little smaller. Regardless, he is definitely over 10 tons, that's for sure. And unlike the Rexes before him, he isn't limited to the land. He can actually swim smoothly through the water like a crocodile and keep an eye on his target. The novel T-Rexes would be proud. The only thing I can hit him on was him not being able to bite through the raft. For my sanity, I'll just say that he gave up after realizing the little girl was gone. She had so much plot armor, by the way. Both her and Duncan have plot armor that could rival Rexy. The reason why I can't really target the rafting too much is because of some of the statements. This single T-Rex was deemed to be so dangerous that he couldn't be let on any of the two islands, not even Sorno. So he was considered to be so much of a menace that they didn't even trust him around the 7 Rexes they brought on the two islands. Maybe he was just that aggressive, and with him being bigger he could definitely kill any individual if he wanted to. But at least they had him in their thoughts. The next thing was never meant to see the sunlight. The future Predator wannabe is the most insane thing this franchise has brought up yet. The Distortus Rex was an absolute unit. Look at him compared to a damn helicopter. That same helicopter was caught by him mid-flight, by the way. It wasn't going max speed but at least 40 miles per hour, and this thing caught it out of the sky, held it with one hand and was chewing on it, just for it to get bored and toss it to the side. His escape, by the way, is the most comical yet. That Snickers bar was the real villain of the movie. None of this would have happened if that wrapper was sucked up. And like all the creatures with different types of animal DNA in them, this one is malicious. When it was younger, it stood behind the guy until he finally realized it was behind him, only for it to then grab him and just kill him. The same with Rupert. It held on to Rupert way too long, making him as fearful as possible before killing him. Not even the Indominus Rex toyed with a victim that long, and she's a menace. His overall demeanor was a surprise to me too. I thought this thing would have been in constant pain because of the way it's built, but that thing does not move as though it's hurt. And its jaws seem to work just fine, seeing it can crush a helicopter, so either it's just fine with the way it is or it has learned to live with the pain. It does have one weird setback though, and it's the same with the Scorpius. This thing will be mere feet away from someone and will ignore them just to go towards a flame or a bright light. So I don't know if it or the Scorpius had a similar building process or what. The only difference is that the D-Rex seems to have some sort of sentience per se, and does not mindlessly just go on a rampage like the Scorpius. It probably just dislikes humans, seeing it definitely was an experiment that should have never been made and was isolated for most of its life. Other creatures were a bit more fortunate. The Titanosaurus and the Quetzalcoatlus had freedom for a longer time. By the way, those official sizes for these guys are wrong. I think the official size for the Titanosaurus was 29,000 pounds or something, which is, it can't be true. They are stated to be the largest sauropods in the franchise, so they weigh at least 80 tons. I mean, do you really think these guys are only about 15 tons? Because I sure don't. I'm not trusting them after the dinosaur expert in quotation marks in the movie called the Mosasaur and Quetzalcoatlus dinosaurs. The Mutodons are little nightmares too, but they weigh as much as a big tiger, so I don't think they could do much to Acid 87. Alright, I think we've gotten enough data from all parties, so let's airdrop the king of Sorna on Site C. He might not be the biggest predator anymore, but he still will be a top dog. I mean, at 10 tons and almost 56 feet long, only the biggest of the big could challenge him. He's also going to have a wide selection of prey to choose from. There's Hadrosaurus, the occasional large amphibian in the swamps, and I'm sure some armored dinosaurs are here as well. Although I can't really say if he can take down a Titanosaur. It is decently bigger than a Brachiosaurus, and these guys have been living on an island with the most dangerous experiments, so I'm sure they are more than capable of defending themselves. Not to mention they seem to have a close herd dynamic, so it's likely that they would gang up on 87 if he even attempted something. Hell, even if it's one-on-one, I don't think he could bring down a max-sized bull Titanosaur. Probably if one's sick or old, but that's just about it. The Quets won't dare try, and the Mutodons know better than to attack something they've never seen before that's that big. But things start to ramp up when we put him against the big guns. It's not likely that Acid 87 would travel to the beach that often, but if he does, there's a chance of him running into the Rebirth Spinosaurus. Without wasting anyone's time, I'll go ahead and say it. 101 Acid 87 annihilates one of these guys. Hell, there's even a possibility of him winning on 2v1. The Rebirth Spinosaurs are almost 3 tons lighter and they aren't really built for life on land like 87. But things start to change if he goes into the open water or encounters the pack of 4. The Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus is a good swimmer, but it is outclassed in this category by Rebirths. These guys are literally adapted to life in the water, and as a group, they could without much difficulty bring down 87. Or even call for backup. The backup being the fin whale sized marine reptile that could one-shot 87. But to be honest, I can't see an instance in which the Jurassic Park Spinosaurus would head out to sea like those guys. He'll more than likely hang out around the swamps or the jungle. So honestly, it depends on what he runs into. If it's a single Rebirth Spinosaurus, he wins. If it's a group, they should be able to take him out. But here's the kicker. 87 may be a wildcard who just rampages whenever he gets ready, but the Rebirth Spinosaurus picked their fights carefully. When the boat was heading towards the rocks, they pulled back because it wasn't worth it and just let the Mosasaurus deal with that. So it honestly depends on the terrain and the amount of individuals, but overall I think both parties would probably avoid each other. I don't think 87 would try to bond because they are way too different for him to recognize any sense of family. He might be a T-Rex killer in Sorna, but I think he'll have to leave that title there. The Rex on this island is even bigger than him, and based on statements, it's the most powerful Rex in the franchise. Both of them have lived in the wild most of their lives with dangerous neighbors, but Rebirth's Rex I think had a harder life. I mean, it lived with the Alibaba future predator. It's more muscular and larger, and the only thing 87 would have against this guy is speed and durability. Probably. It's hard to say because we don't get to see any fight scenes with the T-Rex, but we do have some information from the movie director. Before the original ending, there was supposed to be a fight scene between the D-Rex and the T-Rex. In this case, the T-Rex actually won the fight, but we don't know if it was actually by himself or with human assistance. Regardless, for it to be able to take down that behemoth is a pretty big feat in my book. So with a combination of it being so dangerous that it had to remain on Site C, and it potentially having the ability to take down the D-Rex, I'd say it wins. This brings me actual pain since 87 is my favorite dinosaur, but when comparing the two, I can't see how he really wins most of the time. He might have a slight advantage in the water, but not by much, because this Rex can swim just fine. The fight would be brutal, but the Rex should be able to bring Acid 87 down after a while, since I doubt even he can bring down a steroid Rex bigger and much faster than both him and the other Rexes. The D-Rex is the same as well. I know I just laid it out flat, but this thing is almost 30 feet tall and weighs over 15 tons. We've seen it catch a helicopter out of the sky and toss it aside. So who's to say it couldn't grab the Spinosaurus and potentially just hold it in place while it bites its sail? I mean, it tapped a speeding vehicle and it came to a complete stop. The D-Rex was the immovable object Newton was talking about. I'm not saying the Spinosaurus would get obliterated, but it would have a harder time dealing with an animal that has so much range. I won't say size is a real factor, since if it can take down a Brachiosaurus and Sorna, technically it should be able to take down large animals, but it's different when we're talking about predators, especially ones with as much power as the T-Rex. So do I think the Spinosaurus could survive rebirth? Yeah, well, it depends. It's not like it would starve, and on land it's the third most dominant predator, and there's a lot of things for him to eat. If he plays it smart and avoids the D-Rex and the T-Rex, he should be fine. And also avoiding picking a fight with a full group of Spinos. He would eventually run into each of these at some point, I think, but it really depends on what he does. He's almost certainly gonna fight them, but will he fight to the death or retreat like he did in Camp Cretaceous to live another day? Hell, there could be a small chance that he puts up so much of a fight that even the T-Rex tries to avoid him, but that's unlikely. To be honest, it depends on what side you're on. If you're on the power scaling side, then he beats everything, even the D-Rex, because of his feats and statements. And these guys haven't really done much, but if you look at it logically and compare their stats and overall build, 87 likely won't be able to beat Tiger or the D-Rex. Even if he can't beat them, I think he has like a 70% chance of surviving. If he doesn't try to fight to death with the other two, then he should be fine, and also stays out of the ocean, but like I said, I don't see him going that far out. But let me know what you guys think. Could Asset 87 survive on Side C like he did in Sorna, or did he finally meet his match? Let me know in the comments. That's all for now folks, I'll see you in the next video.